What up, everybody? In this video, we're going to discuss setting up a WordPress website from scratch, or as I like to say, starting fresh on WordPress. My name is Maestro Stevens, the Fresh Prince of WordPress. Welcome to the Iconic Templates YouTube channel. This channel is dedicated to helping you build a WordPress ecosystem through useful tips, tutorials, and resources. Let's get into it. This video is more about setting up your settings than it really is a deep dive into how WordPress works. We're gonna save other tutorial videos for that, but I really wanna just go over how you start your WordPress website from scratch when it comes to these type of settings, right? The first one we're gonna discuss is setting up your WordPress default settings. Then we're going to talk about adding your theme and the settings for your theme. And last but not least, we're going to discuss adding some essential plugins, some of my favorite plugins, and a few of those plugin settings as well. But there are going to be other dedicated videos specifically for the plugins. Don't worry, I'm going to create more videos for plugins, but I just want to go over some of the essential plugins I feel you should add when it comes to starting your website from scratch. All right. Now, let's talk about some of the WordPress settings that we are going to set up or go over. We're going to start with general settings. Then we're going to get into some of the writing settings, reading settings, discussion, and permalinks. So let's go hop into a WordPress sandbox site, right? Or just think of this as kind of a WordPress playground site. And right now I've just installed a fresh copy of WordPress on my hosting. And we're not going to really talk about hosting in this video. So if you have questions about that or you want me to go over hosting or create another video dedicated to hosting, please put that in the comments. Just let me know in the comments area if that's something that you are interested in learning about. For now, let's get into just the WordPress default settings. I have WordPress 6.1.1 installed at this moment in time. You may be using a different version of WordPress. That's okay. These settings should apply for the most part. They should apply to all of you across the board. If there's a setting that you don't see, it means that there has been some type of change in the latest version of WordPress. And I will make a updated version of the video when that does happen. Let's go into settings. You want to hover over here to settings and click settings. And then when it comes to your general settings, this is going to be your site title area. Now, for those of you all who are watching this and are brand new to WordPress, this is going to be all new information. But for those of you all who are watching this and you're already accustomed to WordPress, some of this may be redundant. Some of this may be things you already know, but I'm going to go over it anyway for those who are just using WordPress for the first time. In your general settings, you have site title, which is going to be the title of the site itself. That will be what this will be over here. That will be this name right here. Then you have your site tagline. Now, a lot of themes don't use this tagline feature anymore. This was a feature that was used a lot in the beginning days of WordPress, but now a lot of sites, or excuse me, a lot of themes don't really use this feature. So I don't worry about it too much, but if you want to fill this out with your tagline, hey, it's your world. This is going to be your WordPress address right here. And this is very important because typically when you start off a WordPress website from scratch, this will say HTTP if you already don't have an SSL certificate established, right? If you already have that activated, it's going to be HTTP. But if you do have it activated, once you activate your SSL certificate, you're going to add an S here and an S here, and then you're going to save that. That way, you will be able to see that now your site is going to load the HTTPS version, the secure version, and not just the HTTP version. Make sure you understand that that is very important if you want your site completely secure. These need to be the same, the WordPress address and the site address, for the most part, unless you have some special reason why they're not going to be the same. Here you're gonna have the administrative email address. I'm using a platform for Sandbox to whip up some Sandbox sites real quick called InstaWP. And that's the reason why you see this as the administrative email address. This is going to be the email address that you installed your WordPress website with. You can change this to whatever email address you would like, and then make sure that you actually save that down here as well. Next, we have your membership. I'm not going to worry about this right now. We're not going to dive too much into this because this is something a little bit more advanced. You want to keep your new user default role as subscriber for the most part, unless you have a specific reason why you don't want a new user to be defaulted as a subscriber. You can always Google what these other roles mean. That way you can get some more information about them. But the most two popular ones are going to be subscriber and administrator, and you definitely don't want the new user default role to be administrator. Then you have your site language. Depending on where you live, you want to change your site language to match that. I'm in the United States, so I'm going to keep it as English. And then you have your time zone too. Again, depending on where you live, you want to change your time. For instance, I live in Cleveland, Ohio at the time of this video. So I like to use either Eastern or I like to use New York. So let's see, for instance, I can just use New York as my time zone. Then you can choose your date format and your time format. I usually leave these alone. And you can change your weekday, right? Where your week starts on. I keep it on Monday. Some of you may want Sunday. Kind of weird if you put Tuesday or Wednesday, but hey, some people start their week on a Tuesday. This is going up on a Tuesday, but I'm keep mine on Monday for right now. Let's go to writing. Writing, I usually keep the writing settings as is, except for when I want to change my default post category or default post format. Now, I don't have any categories on this website. That's why you see the default post category is uncategorized. Otherwise, you may want to change it to a different default post category. And then you have the post via email settings. I don't touch these. I wouldn't worry about these if I were you. If you are a beginner user, right? If you're just trying to get into the basics, not get into the advanced stuff, I wouldn't touch any of this. And always make sure to save your changes when you do make changes on your website. When it comes to your reading settings, this is very important because this is where you dedicate what the specific home page is going to be on your website. You would just click this, a static page right here, and then you would check which page, or you would select which page you want to be the home page. I don't have any pages on this website because I just started it fresh from scratch, but there is a sample page that usually comes with every install of WordPress. If I wanted the sample page to be my home page, I would click sample page as the home page, then I would save changes. Same thing with your post pages. So if you want a specific page to be your post page, which means your blog post to be specific, you would select that page here. Then you can decide how many posts you want to show or how many blog pages you want to show at the same time when it comes to your posts. And you can also decide your syndication feeds. I really don't use this at all. I usually just keep this just as it is, the default settings. And if I am starting the site from scratch and I don't want the search engines to index this site, I will check this, discourage search engines from indexing site, and I will leave and I will save changes. When you start your website from scratch, this may be unchecked, but you may want to keep it checked. That way search engines aren't crawling your website. They're not putting it in their results pages, but as the note says, it's dedicated or it's up to the search engines to honor this request. So sometimes the search engines will honor the request. Sometimes the search engines will not honor the request. Now, when it comes to discussion, this is where you may want to change some settings up. I usually leave this alone unless I have a specific reason why I want to change something, like automatically closing comments. What else? Enabling threads, nested threads for comments. This is really a lot about the comments that are being posted on your blog posts, right? The comments that are being submitted. If you want to change these for specific reasons, by all means go ahead, but for the most part, for I would say like 80% or more of you out there, The default settings are going to be just fine. Same thing with the media settings. For most people out there, you're not even going to need to touch the media settings, so I would just leave these as is. And when it comes to the permalink settings, what's cool is these days, WordPress usually will start you here with post name, which I would say is the best and most recommended settings to start off with when it comes to your permalink structure, meaning how does your URL look after the backslash? So you have your website, backslash, what is that URL going to look like? How is it going to be organized in a way where it's easily readable for search engines and for people? I would keep post name checked. Unless you have a custom way you want to do it, then you can use this custom feature here. And what's really cool is they have these kind of like templates, these tags they call them, where you can just click it and then it'll automatically populate dynamically for example, the month number or the post name or the minute or the category. It'll do it dynamically based on the information that that page or post has. But for most people, post name is going to be just fine. I wouldn't touch the optional for category based or tag based unless you know what you're doing and you want to get a little bit more advanced when it comes to your settings, your permalink settings. But for right now, we're going to leave this as is. And privacy, same way. We're not even going to touch privacy. But what's cool about WordPress is that you can create a privacy page, or you can use the privacy page that comes with WordPress and update that, and then click this button to use this page. So those are going to be your default WordPress settings. And what I love about WordPress is the more versions that it comes up with, or the latest versions of WordPress versus back in the day, the default settings are usually already good. Like, they're the recommended settings. You don't really have to do too much. I remember when I first started using WordPress, I literally watched a few WordPress tutorials on just setting up these settings over and over again. I would take classes, I would watch tutorials, but now it's just like, they pretty much set it up for you right out the box. So I just wanted to give you some encouragement that you don't have to do too much, but if you wanted to do a few things, hey, have your way. All right. Now let's get into adding your theme. I'm going to go to Appearance and I'm going to click Appearance here. And this is where we'll see the default WordPress themes. Since we are in 2023, you see WordPress's default theme is going to be 2023. You also will see 2021 and 2022. 2022 and 2023, without getting too much detail about it, are themes that are meant for full site editing. And we're going to discuss full site editing in other tutorials, other videos, but I just wanted to kind of just drop that in there real quick, that these two themes are focused on full site editing. Now, I don't use the default WordPress themes. It's just not my cup of tea, right? I like to add my own themes, and there's a few themes that I recommend, but I'm going to just focus on one particular theme, which is my favorite theme, because I don't want to get too deep into the theme world. But as you can see here, there are so many really good themes that you could use with WordPress. One of my favorite themes is Cadence. It's a generalist theme. It can be used for so many different purposes, right? You can use it for creating a blog site, a business site, a nonprofit website, an e-commerce website. I mean, you can create so many different type of websites with this theme. It's really one of my favorite themes. Once you add the theme, you want to activate it, as you just saw me do there. Now the theme is activated, right? So that means it's the current theme of our website. Now here's a good best practice when it comes to themes. I like to delete all my themes except for one backup theme. When it comes to troubleshooting your website, if your theme is the problem, it makes it a lot easier for you to just switch themes to another theme to see if that theme is the problem. If it's not, then the issue that you had on the website will continue. But if the issue does not continue, right? If you fix your website just by switching your theme, then you know there's an issue with the theme. Let me go back here to my handy dandy presentation here, my slides. And I'm going to quickly touch on searching for a theme in the WordPress repo. Let me click add new. And here we go. When it comes to searching for a theme, you can search for a theme right here by picking a theme. We'll say blog. Let's see what comes up. And then you can see a whole bunch of different blogging type of themes. I didn't want to skip over this. I'm kind of doing this off the cuff a little bit, so bear with me here. But I just wanted to show you that you can search for themes easily there, or you can just look at the most popular themes here just by clicking the word popular, or you can look at the latest themes that have come out on WordPress, or block-based themes. Now that we are in the Gutenberg era or the WordPress editor era, there are a lot of themes that are being created specifically for WordPress blocks. This is where you can do block-based themes right there. Now, downloading a theme from the WordPress.org site is very, very easy. So I'm going to go to WordPress.org. And you can go to themes, hover over download and extend, click on themes, and it's going to be the same options as you see here, right? Which is pretty cool. You can do it from either way. You can add your theme directly here, or you can add your theme here, and you would click the download button and it would download the theme, and then you would upload the theme instead of just activating the theme from the WordPress repo right here or repository. You would click upload theme. You would drag and drop the theme file here, or you would choose the file off of your computer, and then you would install and activate the theme as I just shown you earlier. When it comes to auto updates, this is something that's really, really cool. In previous versions of WordPress, right, older versions of WordPress, you could not auto update your theme from within WordPress on the theme itself. But now WordPress allows you to auto update your theme directly in WordPress on the theme itself by just clicking this enable auto updates button. This will save you so much time and headache, and it's one less thing you have to worry about when it comes to updating your theme. Now, I will say, there's a caveat here, right? That sometimes, and it's not all the time, it's not even most of the time, just sometimes you don't want to have auto updates enabled because sometimes updates can break your website. It's just one of those preference-based things, and it's also understanding what kind of technology, what kind of theme you're using. When it comes to using Cadence, I always auto update the theme because they have really, really good updates. I don't even remember ever having an issue when it comes to auto updating. And if the company behind the theme, the developer behind the theme is on top of things, if something does break when it comes to auto updates, like when they send out a bad update, they usually are on top of it and send a fix, a patch really quickly. That's something that's really, really good when it comes to working with themes that are credible. And when it comes to deleting your theme, it is very, very easy. I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to go to 2022, and in the right-hand bottom corner, you'll see the word that says delete. You would just click delete, then click OK, and now the theme is off of your website. Same thing here. I'm going to go click delete. I'm going to click OK, and it's gone. Now you will only have two themes. That's if you want to keep a default, or keep a backup theme, which is the default WordPress theme. Again, I recommend doing that, but some people don't. Now you see I have two themes, but only one theme is currently active right now. Now let's talk a little bit about the theme settings, and every theme settings is going to vary. I'm just going to touch on some popular settings area, and then I'm going to allow you to look at the theme that you're using and the settings you're using and see, do you have some of these features in your settings, which you should for the most part, and then you can set up your settings from there. Let's start with colors. In order to get to the theme settings, we're going to click customize. And now we're in the WordPress customizer right here, where you can use your theme styling to really customize your website the way you like it. When it comes to Cadence, they have a setting here that says colors and fonts. So they put them together. In your colors area, you can choose what type of colors you want to use for your website. For instance, they have a color palette, and I can decide what colors I want to be associated with my color palette here. This is very useful, for example, building out pages, and you want to add colors to things like your buttons, your text, your backgrounds, etc. This is very helpful when it comes to those kind of color settings. Same thing when it comes to buttons, as I just mentioned. You have colors for buttons, and then you have your typography. Every theme should have some type of typography setting, and you can change how you want your different fonts or typographies to be associated with your different heading types, like your body text, your base font, your H1, your H2s, your H3s, and so forth and so on. You're also able to associate what color you want with those fonts as well. Just look for that in your WordPress theme settings when it comes to being able to set up your colors and your fonts. Now, when it comes to your site logo, aka your favicon, this is going to be found usually in your site identity. If I wanted to add a site icon, which is going to be that icon you see here in the browser, right? AKA the favicon, you want to just add your logo, your type of brand mark, add it here. And then it's going to add that icon, add that logo into your browser page title area up here. Now, this is something that I feel is very important and overlooked. It's one of those professional polish-based type of features or settings where you can tell, for the most part, serious websites, when they have a really good site icon or favicon, they took the time. It's not a one size fits all. It doesn't happen all the time. But if you see a really good site icon and favicon there, that usually means the website's got some polish to it. Think about this when it comes to your website and how it's presented to the public, right? It's like it's a branding thing. And then when it comes to optimization, not all themes have an optimization feature, but Cadence does, and I know a lot of popular themes do. When it comes to the optimization features in Cadence, you would find that here in the general setting, and they call it performance, right? I'm just saying the word optimization, but they're using the word performance. If I wanted to add some features to help speed up my website, I would load Google Fonts locally. I would preload local fonts, and then I would also enable CSS preload. And that way I have some features that usually caching plugins will have. Now, you don't want to have these features on if you have them on your caching plugin. But if you're not using a caching plugin, or your caching plugin does not have these features, it's really good to enable them directly on the theme itself. And this will give you a boost in speed. And speed is the game when it comes to websites and WordPress. Speed. Think about speed, the need for speed. People want to get to it fast. They want it to load fast. They don't want to wait. So use whatever you can to add some performance optimization opportunities to your website. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes and what everybody loves to talk about and get into when it comes to WordPress, the plugins. Let me go back here. Now, I'm hitting the X button because I really don't need to save any of this. But if I wanted to save this, I would click the publish button. So make sure that you publish your changes. It's like saving your changes, but they use the word publish. Make sure you publish your changes before you go back. That's the reason why it's giving me this warning. Let's go to plugins. And as you can see, I have no plugins currently set up on the website. I am scratch, right? We are starting fresh on WordPress here. If I wanted to add plugins, I would click this add new button right here. And this is the WordPress repository for your plugins, right? And we're going to talk about adding some essential free plugins, then setting up the basic plugins, and then setting up some basic Gutenberg settings as well. Let's first add some essential plugins. As you can see here, this is a list of some of my favorite plugins, or a table, however you want to call it, some of my favorite plugins and plugin categories, and some other options that you can use, or alternatives if you don't prefer to use some of the ones that I'm recommending. I'm a big fan of categorization. That's the reason why you see here on the left side, we have blocks, we have forms, we have security, we have backup, we have e-commerce, we have video, we have SEO, code snippets, and analytics. I could have added more category types, but I didn't want to. I wanted to just stick with some of the most basic and most popular category types. One of my favorite block-based plugins for Gutenberg is Cadence Blocks. We just went over Cadence Theme. Now we're going to talk about Cadence Blocks. I'm going to go back to my WordPress website here, and I'm going to type in Cadence. And as you can see, Cadence showed up. It's the first one here. When I want to install a plugin, I would click this button, Install Now. And now this plugin is installed on my website. It is not activated, it is only installed. I'm not gonna activate anything yet. I'm just gonna install plugins because I wanna show you a more efficient way to activate your plugins. What's cool is if you type in a category type here in the search bar, as you see, I just typed in Cadence because I knew directly what I wanted to add to the website. But if I did not know what I wanted to add to the website based on the company or the developer, I would just type in WordPress blocks, for example. And now you can see we have some options for WordPress blocks like Spectra. We have Gutenberg blocks here. We have essential blocks here. We have ultimate blocks here. Now, what I like to do is get even more specific because we got Yoast SEO, and this is not a block, right? This is not a block-based plugin. What I would do is I would type in Gutenberg, and now we're going to see specific plugins meant for the Gutenberg WordPress editor. Again, we have Spectra. We have Otter, Ultimate Add-ons, Gutenberg. We have Cadence here, and it goes on and goes on and goes on. It's just up to you on how you want to search for your plugin, but you can either use the exact name of the company or you can use the category. Let's go to forms. Next is forms. For now on, I'm just going to type in the category just so you can see how this works. I'm going to type in forms here. And now we have form-based plugins. One of my favorite form-based plugins is Fluent Forms. Again, like I did before, I'm just going to install it. I'm not going to activate it. I'm just going to install it. Now let's go to our next one, security. I'm going to go security right here, security. And now you can see there are security-based plugins. Now, I've already added iThemes here as far as one of my favorite ones. But to be honest, since my hosting is SiteGround, I often use SiteGround security. What's cool about SiteGround security is you don't need SiteGround hosting in order to get the full functionality from the security plugin. But again, it's up to you on what kind of security plugin you want to use. For now, I'm going to install iThemes, right? But like I said, I usually use SiteGround security. Let's go to the next plugin, backup. Type in backup as our category. And you can see here we have all different type of options for backup plugins. My favorite backup plugin is Updraft Plus. There are so many different types of backup plugins. You choose what you prefer, what makes sense for you. But I'm a big fan of Updraft Plus. It's really, really easy to use. All right. Let's go to the next one. So e-commerce. Now, this is something that is a little controversial because it's the new kid on the block. By the time you watch this video, it's not going to be so new, but it's technically still going to be new and compared to WooCommerce, which is the most popular e-commerce plugin. I'm just going to type in e-commerce here. And you can see that WooCommerce is the top dog. We got 5 million activations, right, and installations. You're not going to see shortcut at the top, but if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see it down here. SureCart is a really, really great e-commerce plugin that does not have all the bloat that WooCommerce comes with, and that's why I love SureCart. I'm going to install SureCart as well. Now, while I'm doing this, because this is something that I didn't really touch on yet, so I'm going to touch on it now while we're installing our different plugin types. The way that I like to qualify my plugins is very simple. What I do is I look at the number of active installations. I look at the number of reviews. I look at the last date it was updated and if it's compatible with my version of WordPress. These four things right here, these four qualifications, right, are ways that I vet my plugins when it comes to WordPress. If something is outdated and it hasn't been updated in months, I would stay away from it if I were you. If it's not compatible with your version of WordPress, again, if you're new to WordPress, I would stay away from it. If it's something that has 1 or 2 installs, you know what I mean? I would stay away from it too. Now, I don't want to say that new plugins that have low installs aren't good plugins, but when you're a beginner at WordPress, it's a lot easier for you to get started if you use what's already working for most people, right? That doesn't work all the time, but it's a lot easier to get started when you're using with what's already working. So check that out, and then make sure you also take a look at the reviews. These are very, very helpful to see how many stars they have, and then you can always click more details to actually look at the reviews and what people are saying. I think this is very, very important to see too, okay? I just typed in video, and video is one of those things that a lot of people overlook when it comes to WordPress. They usually just embed a YouTube video or a Vimeo video. I'm like, scratch that. We got to get better with our video marketing capabilities and activities. One of my favorite video plugins to use when it comes to video is Presto Player. This is one of the best, if not the best, video plugin out, at least at the time of the recording of this video. So I just installed Presto Player. Let's go to the next category here, SEO. Now, we've already come across SEO a few times because Yoast keeps poking its ugly head out, but we ain't gonna use Yoast. We gonna go with something a little different. I'm a big fan of Rank Math because Rank Math has so many features in the free version that Yoast has in the paid version. It's like you get so much for free that you would have to pay for if you're using Yoast. This is no knock on Yoast. Some of y'all may swear to Yoast. Some of y'all may have the oath to Yoast, whatever. But I'm a big fan of using something that is feature rich. And if you decided to pay for it, it's going to have even more robust features for you. But for right now, we're just going to go with the free version of Rank Math. So I have installed Rank Math. Let's go to the next one. Code snippets. Code snippets is a great way for you to add different codes or scripts on your website without having to add a whole new other plugin. This is basically one of my favorite ways to avoid more plugin bloat. A lot of times we add plugins to our websites where we could have just added a snippet of code, right? And it slows down our website when we do that. When you can just add a code snippet plugin to your website and then find that code, you can copy and paste it, usually on blogs, or a lot of times with really good code plugins, right? Code snippet plugins, they have templates for you. So you can just add the template and be done with it. I've installed our code snippet plugin, right? WP Code. And then let's go to analytics. We can't have a really good WordPress website without seeing our analytics. All right, I'm a big fan of using Google Analytics when it comes to my analytics. Now, everybody doesn't use Google Analytics, and that is okay. There are other analytic platforms out there for reasons that you may want to avoid Google for. When it comes to analytics, again, I'm a big fan of Google Analytics, and I use Google Sitekit. This is the official plugin by Google. Back in the day, it was iffy. They've done a great job with the update, and it is way more stable than what it used to be. So I am vouching for this plugin. May not work for everybody, but for most of y'all, it is all you will need. All right. Now that we have our plugins on our website, I'm going to go back here first and just let you know that these options, option 2 and option 3, these alternatives are really, really good alternatives when it comes to adding some of the essential plugins to your website. I know these other plugins, I've used them. They're just something that I don't prefer at this moment in time because you don't want to have the same plugin more than once, unless it's for a specific reason. For example, you may want to have 2 backup plugins on your website. Ain't nothing wrong with that, having 2 backup plugins on your website. That's okay. You don't need to have 2 security plugins on your website. You may want to have 2 block-based plugins on your website. I would only recommend 2. 3, you're pushing it a little bit, but 2 block plugins is good. When it comes to block plugins, having 2 is okay. Backup plugins, having 2 is okay. You don't want to have SureCart and WooCommerce on the same website. It's not really good. You don't want to have 2 SEO plugins on the same website. That's not really good either. You don't really need 2 code snippet type of plugins. Are you getting my drift here? You really don't need 2 types of the same plugin categories on your website, except for specific reasons. So always keep that in mind. Now let's go back to our plugins and let's click install plugins. And there's a reason why I said I don't want to activate the plugins as I'm adding them. I just want to install them. Why? Because if you click this checkbox here, you can do a bulk action, which means you can create an action that will do multiple things at one time, which means it will activate all the plugins that you have checked at the same time. I've selected the activate and I'm going to click apply. Now you're going to see right before your eyes, all our plugins have been activated. Now, depending on what plugins you're using, and this is something I'm not a big fan of. I hate when, you know, a plugin directly pushes me directly towards their settings. And I mean, I'm not saying I hate the plugins, but I just hate when they do that. I'm not a fan of that. I know Rank Math sometimes does it. As you can see, Cadence does it. If I didn't have Cadence, some other plugin would have did it, right? After I activated, they would have immediately put me in their settings instead of just allowing me to stay in the plugins in this area right here, right? I would rather stay here, but hey, it is what it is. And you will also start to notice when you activate plugins, you'll start to see these banners. Man, some banners get annoying. Some will actually go away when you exit it the first time. Some will keep going back. So you'll notice that if you're new to WordPress, that there are banners, especially for free plugins that have paid features. You'll notice that they're going to try to sell you, or they're going to try to ask a review from you, and they're going to do it in a banner, and they're going to be hidden throughout your WordPress settings here. So it's just something that you just got to get used to. But as you can see, I have enabled all of our plugins, right? I've enabled all of them. Now, speaking of enabled, while we're back here, let's talk about enabling our auto updates the same way we did with our theme. Instead of doing it manually here, which I could do, but I'm going to do it one time just to show you. Just a click of a button. Now this plugin is going to get auto updates. This is one of those features that hurt a lot of WordPress freelancers and agencies and maintenance packages, because updating people's websites was one of the biggest, ways that you can collect that money. But I'm not saying that it's still not worth it to have a maintenance package, to have someone help you maintain your WordPress website. That is invaluable to have that kind of peace of mind. And they also will fix your website if the plugin accidentally breaks your website from an auto update. So sometimes you don't want to have auto updates on, like I mentioned with the themes. I'm going to uncheck this and I'm going to bulk activate or bulk enable all my auto updates, just like that. Now we have all of our plugins on auto updates, right? We have the auto updates enabled and we have all of our plugins installed. And these are some of the basic plugins. Now, one other basic category would be caching, but that deserves its own video. It deserves its own video, dedicated video. I don't want to get too deep into caching on this one, but for now, we're just going to stick with these categories right here. Now that we have our plugins installed, let's just quickly go over a few of them. I'm not going to go too deep into the settings of all of these plugins because this video will be really, really long. It's already long enough, but I definitely wanted to show you all this is something that your settings is something that you want to take a look at when it comes to your plugins. For instance, Fluent Forms. We're in the Fluent Form settings, and a lot of times your settings, just like the WordPress default settings, they will be already set up for you, and you just have to go in there, maybe touch a few different setting features. I, for the most part, wouldn't touch most of my settings unless I have specific reasons why, or you need to fill out some information. Now that's important. If you need to fill out some information, you need to touch some settings. But other than that, if you're new to WordPress, do not get too deep into the settings because it will drive you crazy. Now I can't really get too much into the shortcut settings or into shortcut because I don't have it activated and I don't want to activate it on this website. I'm going to do a dedicated video for shortcut and then show you how you would set up your shortcut plugin, your e-commerce store. But just know that shortcut has settings as well too. Let's go to code snippets. So we have code snippets here. Code snippets doesn't really have many settings. If you wanted to add headers and footers mode, you could, but you really don't need to. Security. Now, this is something that you definitely want to set up. What's cool about iThemes is they run you through this onboarding prompt right here. You can skip it if you want to and proceed with the default settings if you want. But if you want to actually go through and choose your type of website, what it will do is it will set up your security settings based on the type of website that you're building with these templates here. Rank Math is very similar. Rank Math is going to have you go through this onboarding prompt here, and it's really, really good because it'll allow you to set up your Rank Math account. They'll walk you through it, and then you set that up based on their recommended settings. And if you want to switch something, change something, you can do so. But I say just use their recommended basic settings and then go from there. I'm not going to connect my Rank Math account. I'm just going to skip for now. And then as you can see, I would go with easy mode. Now, if you want to do advanced mode, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But easy mode just gets you through it. And then you can just set up your website and you're pretty much ready for SEO. So I'm going to return to the dashboard for now. And once you go through that onboarding process, that's what all this is about. Don't get confused. Like you go to the onboarding process and then you go here to general settings. You're like, wait, what is all this stuff? What's happening here? Don't worry about it. It's okay. Just go through that onboarding process and most of these settings will be set up for you already. When it comes to Presto Player setting, a lot of the settings in the free version are going to be found here in performance. So you can check this dynamically load JavaScript right here. This is one of those speed-based performance type of features. Integrations wise, if you're using YouTube, you can toggle this on for privacy enhanced mode, but unless you have the actual pro version of Presto Player, you're not going to get access to Google Analytics and email capture. And email capture basically is connecting Presto Player with your email marketing or your CRM system. What else do we got here? Let me go back to plugins, make sure I went over everything. Fluent Forms, iThemes, Cadence Blocks, Presto Player, Rank Math, SiteKit. So with SiteKit, you would connect your Google Analytics account. And then once you connect your Google Analytics account, you need to sign in. Then once you sign in, you will connect your Google Analytics account. And then once you connect your Google Analytics account, you'll start to see your analytics right here on your website, which is so sweet that you don't have to actually go to analytics, to Google Analytics in order to see your analytics. And then Updraft Plus, last but not least, this is very easy to set up. All you have to do is go to your settings. To do automatic backups, you would choose which schedule interval you would want to use. I usually use daily, but you can do 12 hours or weekly, whatever, right? Click daily. I said weekly right there, huh? And then you would choose where do you want to back up your website to your remote storage location. I'm a big fan of Google Drive, so I would click this Google Drive right here. If you want to use Dropbox, you can do so here. Microsoft OneDrive, it's up to you. Whatever remote storage platform you use, you can connect it to Updraft Plus as long as it's here. And then, for instance, when it comes to Google Drive, it's going to have you sign in with Google. This takes literally 30 seconds. It's going to sign in. Once you sign in, it's going to take you back here. And then you click Save. So make sure you always save your settings. You click Save, and then you're all done. Now your website is going to automatically back up to your chosen remote storage platform. And now let's go to Gutenberg really quickly here. So Gutenberg is the name for the WordPress editor. I think they're going to be getting rid of Gutenberg and just going with WordPress editor. So it really depends for the most part. But let's add a new page because I just want to show you really, really quickly. Then I'm going to make another video that dives deeper into how to use Gutenberg. But first, I just want to go over Gutenberg settings because I think a lot of people overlook this or they don't even know it's here. You would click these three dots here in the right-hand upper corner, and you would click preferences. That's what the settings I'm talking about is your preferences. And for the most part, I would leave this alone. But if you did want to change this, like your appearance, you can customize the options related to how your interface looks. You can toggle these on and off. You can even toggle on what type of blocks you want to see or you don't want to see when it comes to the block editor, right? If I wanted to untoggle all of Caden's base blocks, I could do so here. I can hide them, or I can do blocks individually, as you can see like this. Okay. Same thing with other WordPress blocks or other plugin blocks. You can easily toggle them on or off right here. It's very easy to do. And with this, I believe there is no save. So once you do so and you exit it, it automatically saves by itself. You don't really have to click the save button. And that's it. That is what I wanted to show you when it comes to starting fresh on WordPress, building your WordPress website from scratch and adding essential plugins, setting up your default WordPress settings and your theme settings. Please subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications so you get notified when we release new videos.